Deep within a desolate mountain cave, a young girl named Reiko offered her life to the legendary evil dragon. The massive creature loomed over her, but instead of roaring, he looked at her with genuine shock. Rave explained that he was a vegetarian and had no interest in consuming human flesh. Reiko refused to listen, insisting that her village sent her as a sacrifice to appease his hunger. Rave realized that the girl was an orphan with nowhere else to go and a terrifying amount of hidden magic. To prevent her from taking her own life, the dragon lied and claimed he had already eaten her soul. Reiko immediately believed him, declaring herself his eternal disciple and servant. Rave decided to return her to the village, hoping the humans would take her back with open arms. However, the villagers were struck with absolute horror at the sight of the giant dragon. A young boy named Otto threw a stone at the dragon to protect the memory of his friend. Rave felt the impact of the stone but forced himself to look unmoved to maintain his facade. Reiko was furious that anyone would dare attack her new master and prepared to strike. Suddenly, a pack of shadow-manipulating wolves attacked the village, sensing a feast. Rave wanted to run, but the villagers were all looking at him for salvation. Reiko jumped onto the dragon's back, claiming she would use his borrowed power to end the threat. With a single wave of her hand, she unleashed a wave of dark energy that vaporized the wolves. Rave watched in silence, realizing that his disciple was far more dangerous than any demon. Otto was devastated, believing Reiko had been brainwashed by the evil creature. Reiko took the dress Otto had made for her, viewing it as a mere tool for her master. She ordered Rave to spread his wings and fly them to their next destination. Rave had to admit the embarrassing truth: despite his size, he never learned how to fly. Reiko simply nodded and used her own magic to construct massive dark wings on the dragon's back. They took off into the night sky, leaving the terrified villagers far below them. Rave hoped to find a rebel group where he could dump Reiko and escape his new life. Reiko used her magic eye to spot a burning city in the distance, sensing a battle. The city was Padona, and it was currently under siege by the Demon King's army. As they approached, the city's defenses fired a volley of magical arrows at the dragon. Reiko absorbed the mana from the air and countered with a devastating energy blast. Rave was glad he wasn't hit, but he felt his reputation becoming more villainous by the second. Upon landing, they were met by Eileen, the leader of the Padona Knights. Reiko bragged that Rave could destroy the entire city with a single breath if he wished. Eileen was impressed by Reiko's raw power and asked the master to help them against the flying monsters. Rave immediately passed the responsibility to Reiko, claiming it was part of her training. The girl flew into the air, tearing through the monsters with her bare hands and dark magic. Rave found his own disciple more frightening than the demons she was killing. He pointed toward a distant tower, correctly guessing it was the source of the demonic control. As it began to rain, Rave used his massive body to shield a sleeping Reiko from the storm. Eileen observed this and realized that the evil dragon was surprisingly caring toward his ward. She challenged Rave to a duel to test his resolve, striking him with her magical sword. Rave took the hits, wishing for a quick end, but the sword only caused intense mental pain. Eileen finally understood that he was completely harmless and weak, despite his legendary status. She warned him to keep up the act, as the truth would break Reiko's heart and unleash her rage. Rave agreed, realizing he was now a prisoner of his own fake reputation and a little girl's love. Rave trudged across the desolate plains, his massive heart thumping against his ribs in absolute terror. On top of his head, Reiko sat cross-legged, scanning the horizon for any threat to her master. The dragon hoped they would find a nice quiet meadow filled with delicious, crisp grass. Instead, they saw a massive pillar of black smoke rising from the horizon toward the clouds. Reiko pointed her small finger at the inferno, her eyes sparkling with destructive curiosity. Rave tried to turn around, but his massive body was too heavy to pivot quickly in the mud. The girl interpreted his clumsiness as a bold charge toward the heart of the enemy stronghold. They soon reached the gates of Padona, a city currently being sieged by a demon army. A demon general with flaming wings flew up to confront the massive silver intruder. Rave frozen in midair, his mind screaming for a way to apologize for intruding. Master says your fire is too bright and it hurts his sensitive eyes. Reiko didn't wait for an answer before she unleashed a wave of dark energy from her palm. The demon general was instantly vaporized, leaving nothing but a few drifting ashes in the wind. Rave watched the ashes fall, realizing he was now an accomplice to a supernatural homicide. With the general gone, the demon army scattered in absolute panic from the evil dragon. The citizens of Padona began to cheer, thinking they were saved by a benevolent deity. Rave didn't want to be a deity, he just wanted to find a salad and go back to sleep. Reiko accepted all their gifts of gold and jewels, claiming them as tribute for her master. They left Padona quickly, but Rave's stomach was still growling because he couldn't eat gold. A few days later, the duo arrived at the gates of the water-blessed town of Selian. This place was famous for its pure water and peaceful monks who worshipped a water saint. Rave leaned down to take a sip of the sacred lake water, hoping it would soothe his nerves. A woman dressed in ornate blue armor stepped forward and blocked his path with a spear. "How dare a filthy beast attempt to pollute our holy waters with its presence?" Rave pulled back, feeling very hurt by the lady's extremely rude choice of words. Reiko's hair began to float as her magical pressure crushed the nearby stone statues. "You will apologize to my master for breathing the same air as him, mortal." The water saint summoned a massive serpent made of liquid to strike at the little girl. Rave tried to shout for them to stop, but only a pathetic high-pitched squeak came out. To the monks, that squeak sounded like a terrifying dragon roar that signaled the end of the world. Reiko snapped her fingers, and the water serpent turned into a rain of boiling steam. The water saint fell back, her holy spear shattered into 1,000 useless fragments. Rave realized that every time he tried to be nice, Reiko accidentally destroyed a local legend. The monks immediately offered Rave the entire lake as a bathtub to avoid further wrath. Rave sat in the lake, feeling very awkward while 100 people watched him soak. Reiko stood guard on a nearby rock, her eyes never leaving the defeated water saint. After cleansing the town of its pride, Rave decided it was time to move on before he was arrested. They began their trek toward the Askar Kingdom, a place known for its powerful magic users. Rave had a bad feeling about this new destination, as his luck was consistently terrible. As they crossed the border, a strange hooded figure watched them from the shadows of a cliff. The figure whispered a name that Rave hadn't heard in 5,000 years. Suddenly, the ground beneath Rave's feet began to glow with an ancient forbidden seal. Reiko jumped into a fighting stance, but her shadow was suddenly pinned to the ground by dark stakes. Rave realized this wasn't another misunderstanding, but a trap designed specifically for a dragon. A voice boomed from the darkness, announcing the return of the dragon-slaying hero. The voice echoing from the shadows belonged to a man claiming to be the legendary hero who once sealed the evil dragon. Reiko narrowed her eyes at the stranger, sensing a foul stench of decay beneath his ornate robes. Rave felt his knees shaking violently as he realized this supposed hero was actually a powerful ghoul in disguise. The ghoul laughed, revealing his plan to use the citizens' fear to resurrect a new controllable evil dragon. Reiko stepped forward, interpreting the ghoul's mockery as a direct challenge to her master's supreme authority. Rave tried to whisper a warning, but his voice cracked, making it sound like a terrifying draconic growl. The citizens, hearing the growl, believed Rave was preparing to unleash a holy fire upon the intruder. The ghoul waved his staff, summoning an army of undead soldiers to swarm the silver dragon. Reiko moved faster than the eye could see, obliterating the entire undead frontline with a single kick. Rave accidentally stepped on a tombstone, tripping and falling forward toward the ghoul mage. The ghoul screamed as the massive dragon's head descended upon him like a crashing mountain. Reiko cheered for her master, convinced that this clumsy fall was actually a legendary heavenly body press. Despite the mage's defeat, the soul gem shattered, releasing a concentrated mass of human terror into the sky. From the vortex emerged the fake evil dragon, a creature born from the nightmares of every soul in the kingdom. Rave looked at the colossal entity and realized that even his reputation couldn't save him from a monster made of fear. Reiko grabbed Rave's claw, her touch grounding him amidst the chaos of the shifting shadows. She told him that as long as he was with her, no nightmare could ever harm the world he protected. Rave felt a spark of genuine courage, realizing he had to be the hero she believed him to be. He told Reiko to lend him her strength one last time to banish the darkness once and for all. Reiko channeled every ounce of her world-ending mana into Rave's silver body, making him glow like a sun. The fake dragon dived downward, its claws of shadow reaching out to extinguish the light. Rave let out a roar, not of fear this time, but a genuine cry of effort that echoed through the mountains. The collision of their powers created a shockwave that cleared the clouds and turned night into day. The shadow dragon dissolved into nothingness as the light of Reiko's devotion proved stronger than the world's fear. Rave landed softly in the center of the city, his scales smoking but his heart finally at peace. The people of Asgard rushed into the streets, cheering for the silver dragon and his brave disciple. Reiko sat on Rave's snout, cleaning a small smudge of dirt from his nose with her sleeve. The king of Asgard knelt before them, offering his eternal gratitude and a lifetime supply of the finest vegetables. Rave's eyes lit up at the sight of the giant cabbages, his hunger finally overcoming his exhaustion. Reiko watched him eat, noting that her master's victory feast was a humble display of his true divinity. With the threat of the demon army gone, the world began to enter an era of unprecedented harmony. Rave looked out at the horizon, thinking about how his life had changed since meeting the little girl who wanted to be eaten. He realized that he wasn't just a coward pretending to be a dragon anymore, he was a guardian who had a family. Reiko suddenly announced that she was ready for their next training mission across the western seas. Rave choked on a carrot, realizing his days of peaceful napping were still a long way off. However, he didn't mind the chaos as much as he used to, as long as Reiko was by his side. They prepared to leave Asgard, leaving behind a legacy that would be told for generations to come. As they soared into the blue sky, the shadows of the past were completely replaced by the light of the future. Reiko shouted her master's name to the winds, promising to make him the most famous dragon in history. The vegetarian dragon and his overpowered disciple disappeared into the horizon, heading toward their next great misunderstanding. Their story ended not with a battle, but with the quiet laughter of two friends traveling together.